Welcome, everybody. Go ahead and sign in the sign-in sheet, and Ron will get started here in just a moment.
While people are signing in, if you'd like, you can go ahead and post into chat where you're calling in from, which school or which city and state. All right, so we got the West Coast and the East Coast, and of course, Texas. I'm based here in Texas. If you do need Spanish interpretation, you can click on the globe and select the Spanish channel, and our interpreter will be helping you out, translating as I go. Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Family Tech Talk. My name is Ron Russak. I'm a CISSP and Technical Account Manager with Trend Micro, working with the Tipping Point product. Also ambassador with the Trend Micro Internet Safety and Kids and Families program. And I've been doing this for maybe, I think about 5 years of the 14 years that the program has been going on. So welcome. My producer tonight is Kimberly Keys. She's going to be on mute, but she's helping to produce the program. We have all these schools invited tonight, so hopefully we have folks from everywhere. Again, the internet safety for kids and family have been going on for over 14 years now. And of course, since the advent of COVID, we've switched to virtual. We've done these presentations in person at PTO meetings as well. So again, just as a reminder, we do have Espanol available. Please see the chat as we repeatedly post the sign-in sheet, the virtual sign-in sheet. Our session will run probably the full 90 minutes, including questions. We are recording the session and it will be available to your schools. The host who contacted you will have access to the recording. You can submit questions in English or Spanish, and please complete the survey. Again, this is brought to you through PTO today, and of course, there is no charge for this. It's just an outreach of Trend Micro. To get started, we're going to start with a few surveys here. Number one is, how old is your oldest child? Not your youngest, but your oldest, just so that we can get an idea of what type of audience I'm talking to tonight. And I can see off to the side here that the majority is pretty much 6 to 10, and followed by 11 to 14, and we do have a few 15 and older. So kind of the middle-aged school years. Moving on to the next one. What are you most interested in discussing tonight? Managing screen time, helping with kids stick to age appropriate, dealing with bullying or hate, getting idea for positive uses of the internet, or you're not sure, you're just here to learn something new. It's nice to see that the majority is still for helping my kids stick to age appropriate content, and a lot of people here to learn something new. So what are we going to talk about tonight? It's going to be focused on our approach to digital citizenship. What does that mean? Digital citizenship. It means we're going to talk about safety and security and what we call digital literacy. Also, ethics and community. And of course, the goal is to have everybody become digital citizen mastery level. That takes time and practice, but it's certainly easily obtainable. To help do this, we broke it down into 4 different sections that we'll be talking about. Be online, where we talk about environment rules, setting the example. This is the vastly largest portion of the presentation and most of my specialty, along with being safe with your privacy, being safe with your information and safe with yourself. We're also going to talk a little bit about being kind to others and kind to yourself. And finally, we're talking about being savvy, using good habits and good uses of the internet. There is certainly a lot of potential out on the internet, both for good and for bad. So we're going to start with talking about setting up the environment. What do we mean? That means for our physical health, mostly for our eyes and lighting. Are we in a bright room, a dark room? Do we have glare on the screen? Do we have glare on our glasses? The simple formula for the eyes is, of course, every 30 minutes, you should look at something 30 feet away for 30 seconds. What happens is your eyes can get kind of stuck on near focus. And then when you try to get away from that further out, your eyes are stuck. You can't see in the distance anymore. Another technique is to use blue light glasses. So these you can kind of see glare on them reflecting blue because they're actually tinted yellow to absorb blue. Something else, posture, seating. We've all been through 2+ years of COVID where kids are now schooling from home, sitting, and in their early days, sitting at the dining room table possibly for 4 or 5 hours a day. Not necessarily the best chair to sit in for that amount of time. They typically tend to be hard and straight backed. That's not a great position to be in for a long time. As the years have churned on, we may have upgraded our seating and gotten more office type chairs for use at home. And also, of course, we have to take breaks, get up, walk around, get some movement going. Because as I'm learning in my older age, motion is the lotion, is what physical therapists tend to say. We don't want to sit here hunched over our computer for hours and hours. We need to get up and move around so we don't get stuck. What about setting up the environment? This is a big stickler for me. We all have our own home routers now, or we're using a router provided by our internet provider. Rule number 1, always reset the password. Most common routers these days have now multiple networks at the same time. They have what's called the guest network, which can coexist at the same time as your regular network. This is a very important concept because the router automatically keeps these 2 networks separate. You cannot communicate between the 2 of them. Guests are stuck on that network, and your computers should be on the regular network. Also, you may have heard that people can hack into TVs and such. Well, if your TV is on your regular network, that means they could get from the regular network into your computer. But if you set up your TVs or Internet of Things devices on your guest network, they are isolated from your personal computers. That is a big security improvement. To help get it all the way through the house, you can get Wi-Fi extenders. Frequently, it's easier to buy the same brand as your router because it will probably talk to it and set up automatically. If not, it takes a little bit more skill. But by doing this, you could extend that guest network all the way over to the room over the garage and all the way down to the basement. Extenders are relatively cheap and they can work very well. If you don't have a whole lot of bandwidth at home, you can also stagger the time that various people are on. If you are doing a lot of Zoom or Teams meetings from home and you have low bandwidth, you may need to restrict your children from streaming video at the same time that you're doing your regularly scheduled meeting. You may have to set them so that they can only use it in the evening or after school, things like that. Staggering can help save you some bandwidth if you're in a low bandwidth situation. What I've seen lately, though, is in the internet wars, companies are doubling your bandwidth at no charge every couple of years just to stay competitive. Probably a good thing there. So what else do we need to think about? You need security software on all your devices. That means tablets, iPads, and your phones, as well as all of your PCs, Macs, et cetera, et cetera. The only exception may be a Chromebook or a laptop or tablet provided by the school, because if they're providing one, they already have their own software usually installed on it. Turn on your firewall. Most security software will do that automatically, and Windows these days has it on automatically. It's one more step of taking that security that we use in the corporate environment and putting it into use at home. Use strong passwords. These days, with the advent of high speed or taking video chips and applying them to do computer work, pretty much every word in the dictionary has already been hashed, and hackers know every word in the dictionary. So if they get your password from somewhere and it's in the dictionary, chances are they already know what the hash looks like, so they already know what the main password is. It doesn't take very long to decrypt those anymore. So we need to use strong passwords, and we'll get to that in a minute. Also use multi-factor authentication. A lot of us use this, Duo or RSA or Secure ID, in our work environments, two examples to sign on to our VPN, but do you do that at home? Both Google and Yahoo, for example, do support multi-factor authentication. All of your banks should be using multi-factor authentication. You can also use virtual private networks. What that does is it hides your activity from your internet provider. So your internet provider cannot target you with ads specifically because they don't know what you're doing. That takes essentially your connection and encrypts it and sends it to the VPN host provider. They could, in theory, know what you're doing, but your internet provider won't. Downside, a lot of companies know what the VPN network sources are and won't let you in from a VPN, assuming that you may be a hacker. So they don't always work right. Set up the environment. Update, update, update. I cannot stress that enough. You have computer stuff at home, you need to keep it up to date. Of course, Apple, Microsoft have Patch Tuesday, where all the things are updated. Apple does it on their quarterly basis. In fact, yesterday was Patch Tuesday for Microsoft and Adobe. But that just covers your Windows and your Adobe. That doesn't cover your Android phones. It doesn't cover your iPhones or your iPads. It doesn't cover your Chromebook, and it doesn't cover your router. Your router also needs to be upgraded constantly. Ideally, your modern router should notify you via their control app or when you log into it if there's an update available. You need to keep them patched because an unpatched router allows nefarious people to get into your own network. Make passwords a phrase and change them often. What do we mean by phrase? Might need to buy more toilet paper soon. The world is coming to an end. We need more toilet paper. We've all seen that a couple of years ago when COVID started. But there is a passphrase that may be easier to remember because of the silliness of the entire sentence. Just an example of making a phrase instead of a word from the dictionary. You can also back up and store safely. What you do not want to do is back up to a local hard drive that's sitting on top of your computer. Because what happens if somebody smashes your window and takes your computer and your hard drive? You have no backup. So if you'll use a local hard drive, you need to connect it, make your backup, and then put it somewhere else. If you're using online backup, iDrive, Norton, whatever, even Dropbox or OneDrive, you can buy more space. Those are relatively safe, and they usually duplicate your data 2 or 3 times. So you may have data stored both in New York, LA, and China, with the hopes that under the worst situation, one of those 3 sites will always be online. The good thing is most of those backup companies use your password to hash or encrypt the data. So these companies can't even see what you've stored because it's encrypted. The downside is if you lose that password, you can never ever get your data back. Even if you go to the company and validate yourself, if you don't know the password, they cannot decrypt your data. So that's the downside of using a cloud storage. We can use tech tools to help us do all this stuff also. For age-appropriate content, we can use the tools that we have to try to set that up or to schedule time online and monitoring. There's all kinds of tools out here. A lot of them these days, our routers have gotten much more complex for home use. Speaking about routers at home, several years ago, they changed the default color of most routers to black. If you're still using a blue or green router, chances are it's, in technology terms, an antique and needs to be replaced. If you can't use your router and have some level of security built into your router, you need to get a new one. Most of the routers these days partner with security companies like Norton, McAfee, or Trend Micro to help provide security within the router itself. Plus, they may allow you to set restrictions on devices. It's usually found under things like family settings or parental controls. So a lot of you asked about software and settings. One of our tech tools is the iOS screen time. You can go into screen time if you're a Apple family and have iPhones, and configure your children's devices and make them part of a family. This is done down at the bottom in the family. You can add family members, and then actually it will generate weekly reports, downloads, and app limits. You can set all of this up. It doesn't really replace being a good parent, but it does give you an extra level of security, because you can set content and privacy restrictions. Again, this only works on really good sites that provide the keywords and phrases that trigger the software. Illegal sites, things like that, may not always trigger, but it's certainly better than nothing. So again, you can set your restricted content for your younger children. What about Android? Well, Google came out with Google Family Link. Basically the same thing. You can link all of your phone and your children's accounts together. And again, impose certain limits and restrict certain content. But there's a lot more tools out there. Some of these even provide tracking your child's location and can alert you if they escape their virtual fence, go too far. YouTube has now what they call supervised accounts. This is again from Google. where you can set up your children's account or have YouTube Kids. This would be really good for your younger children because it actually does segregate most of that adult or higher level content out of YouTube automatically. This is a newer product and it is definitely a positive step for YouTube. We do have a whole lot of tools to go through here, so I am trying to go relatively quickly. If you need help with specific tools, you can probably Google it and find out detailed information on how to set these things up. Even TikTok now has family pairing, where you can, again, through the digital well-being screen, combine and set additional family members, which will help you see what your child is seeing on their own account, and hopefully also restrict it by making it family friendly. Other tools, Instagram has the Family Center and Supervision page within their device. A lot of these apps you're going to find under the settings or the triple dot menu or what we call the hamburger menu within the application. You know, the icon that brings you more settings is where you're going to find a lot of these screens, or just go straight into privacy and see if that's where the settings are. It varies because each company has kind of made their own family center or protection. So again, with Instagram, it's not a replacement for parenting, but it gives you some control. You can set quiet time. You can see who their friends are and things like that. So we can help guide our children into hopefully not accepting every single friend who wants to be our friend, because we know not everybody out there is who they seem. Even Snapchat, who's late to the party here, has come up with their family center, where you can again combine your accounts, gives you control, see what's going on, share, see what your children are doing, who their friends are, to give you ammunition or resource materials to help your children navigate these situations, including blocking people and things like that. So what we're going to do is show you this short video from Roblox on how to set its, there we go. So this animation walks you through the steps necessary with Roblox, every younger child's favorite thing to do online. By setting a pin, you set your restrictions and keep your children out of it. A lot of these programs, again, to mention, don't work on those teens because they may know more about their phone or their computer than you do. And I'm sure there is published ways to get around most of this. However, on your younger children, these are quite effective. Even Discord, which is kind of a chat program that gamers use, has security settings built in where you can say, hey, keep me safe. Only friends of friends can contact me, not anyone. You can also block. Block feature is important. You need to talk to your children about blocking people who say inappropriate things, or ask them what their address is, ask them how old they are. Maybe not the age, but any further details. Any questions that we would call grooming questions may indicate somebody who needs to be blocked. Even Xbox has family settings where you can set your time restrictions. It can filter apps and sends you notifications if your child wants more friend or more time to play, or to approve friend requests, or of course pay for content. A lot of information and a lot of tools out there. To help you muddle through this, tmfamily.care is our special website, absolutely free of charge. It's free of charge, and it provides software both for Android and iOS to help walk you through many of these settings automatically. We have spent some time researching and developing this to help you, to assist you in setting all of these complex settings in many of these programs. Of course, it's not the only solution because every day they come up with a new program. But as long as we know what it is and it hasn't changed, it's a very good resource for you. And there is no charge. So what else are we asking you to do about set the environment? It's setting the rules. Children need rules. They need boundaries. So what can they do online? When can they do things online? How long can they spend online? Where are they going to spend this time, for how long, with who, when, and what? Where are they going to do it? And with whom? True story, before all this started happening, my children, I have 2 boys, we set kind of the gaming computer in the corner of the living room. So when he was online doing Minecraft, when his friend came over, and they would both do it together, and then when they would sit there and make comments and make a YouTube talking about other people's Minecraft servers and settings, making commentary, we could be off in the other end of the room overhearing everything that they're doing. That really would put a damper on anybody trying to do something they shouldn't do. If they're in the room with the door closed, they may be able to do anything they want, unless you have one of these software tools on your router or on their machine that prevents that sort of thing from happening. Another consideration, especially for the when and how long, is to do this little homework. You can do this for yourself as well. And this is based on advice from the Digital Wellness Lab, where you fill up a 24-hour pie chart, big circle. In person, when we did this presentation, we'd hand out these and actually ask you to fill them in. So write down on this 24-hour pie chart all the things that you need to do. Things like sleep, eat, exercise. How much time do you need to spend working at school, either home or at school, doing homework and reading, maybe hobby time also. Also, how much time do you need to spend with the family? Do you still make time to sit down at the table together? After you put all that in there, how much time is actually left over? You'll probably find it's only an hour or 2. Could be more, could be less. So again, with the time that's left over, how much time is that going to be online or offline? Think about it. Because we're asking you to set the example. What rules do you have for yourself? You cannot expect your children to put their phone down at the dinner table if you are on your phone. We know children do not do very well with do as I say and not as I do. You really need to set the example. So, what kind of example are you setting for your children? Now we're going to talk about being safe. What are we talking about? Privacy settings, being private, how do you hide your information, and that sort of thing. Again, we're back to use the privacy settings within all these applications. So most children's favorite thing, Fortnite, actually does have privacy settings. By clicking on the 3 bars. In geek terms, we call this the hamburger menu because it looks kind of like a hamburger or a sandwich. Some of them actually have curves like on the top and the bottom corners. That's your alternative menu. When you open it, you're presented with the alternative menu, and you can set your privacy level to say you're private, so that everybody else in the world of Fortnite cannot contact you and try to make you friends. There is also on the internet a limit to privacy. So if we take a look at Instagram's user agreement, 99+% of people will just scroll through it and hit accept. What it actually says is, any picture you upload becomes property of Instagram for their use without compensation to you forever. You, by accepting the standards that they tell you, are giving away the privacy of your pictures forever. So assume nothing is private. That's why Google, Yahoo, and TikTok and all of these programs and Instagram are free, because they're monetizing your information against you. What you search determines what ads they provide you. What pictures you upload and who your friends are, they get things and determine what ads to send you. Facebook, of course, got caught years ago selling that information to third parties, supposedly without telling everybody. But in the Facebook terms and conditions, when you clicked accept to be a member, you probably waived that right for them to sell your information to third parties to target ads. So how do we protect our information? Takes a little bit of skill also, because on the internet, there are all of these potentials to trick you into giving away your information. Free offers, free iPads. I promise you they're going to take that information and sell it. There is also, of course, maybe sites that tell you cheat codes for Fortnite, but you got to provide your name, address, and phone number so they can sell it. There's also things like fake media social posts and poison search results posted by scammers, planning on you, falling victim to these comments and clicking on it so that it will take you to a website that will try to invade your computer or your phone, take advantage of all thousands of flaws within the software to try to take over your phone or your computer, to steal your information. Cyber criminals, it's a whole gigantic business. You can now buy on the dark web companies and pay them a fee, and they will hack computers for you. And you pay them for every machine that they hack for you. And then they give you total control of those machines. It is that crazy. You can go and buy software to hack computers and lease it or rent it for use, complete with customer support phone numbers in multiple languages to help you hack other people for a fee. They're making criminality a legitimate business in many countries. Okay, enough scaring you. Another survey. How many of your kids have their own cell phone? There we go. What I found over the years is these numbers have been changing slowly. It also depends upon the age of the children in the audience. There is no right or wrong answer. And according to the survey, the majority of your kids do not have phones yet. You know, your 8, 10, 12-year-old children, I'm not sure if they really need their phones yet. But on the other hand, We have children that have to walk home from school by themselves because both parents are working, or it's a single parent household and the parent wants to know where the child is. So yeah, there's a legitimate time. We do not have an opinion on what age or maturity level a child needs a phone because it varies by the situation. Like I just said, are they spending time alone getting home? Do the parents need to know where they are? When we were growing up, maybe not you, I'm much older than most of you. We didn't have cell phones, of course, but we would go home and talk on the old corded phone or the cordless phone for hours and hours on the afternoons to all of our friends. But we did that from home on the landlines. That doesn't apply so much anymore. In fact, I don't know everybody who still has plain old telephone lines going to their house. Everybody has cell phones. And yes, as pointed out in the chat, they do sell phones that are specifically limited to emergency calls or tracking. Because one of the things with phones is they all have a camera. Well, remember how I said nothing, all those services are free because they steal your information? Well, part of the function of a camera on your phone is to use that geolocation number or information and what model your phone is, what software is running, maybe the name of the user, and it puts all of that in the pictures called metadata. Some of it's legitimate, what exposure was done on the camera, on the picture. Some of it isn't, like where were you when you took the picture to the, within a few feet. When you post that picture back to social media, it could still contain all that metadata. Somebody could download that picture and find out what model phone you have and where you were standing when you took that picture. If you go into your settings, you can turn off a lot of that information so that it doesn't geotag every picture and include that. So again, we're asking you to help your children, especially if they get a phone with a camera. Go check those settings. Again, gaming is a great way to spend time. There are benefits. It also costs sleep. How many children stay up all night? How many adults stay up all night playing games? Bad example if you're trying to tell your children they can't do that. And you could also consider games that have a certain time. Like sports games may actually have real clocks in them that end at a certain time. So when the game is over, the game is over. Not like Fortnite that goes on forever, or Roblox that goes on forever. But things like Rocket League or NBA, Madden football, things like that, they may play in real time, so they will actually end and therefore end your gameplay. Okay, be kind. So we were saying some families will allow their child to have a phone, some won't. Some will allow them to play games and stay up later than others, some won't. Don't make a judgment call, just respect other families' privacy and their values. Things go a lot easier if we just say, that's the way they are, but that's not the way we are, we're just different. Okay, it's not one is better or worse than the other. That's the point of being kind. You are not equal to all of your likes, shares, and thumbs up. We need to impress this onto your children. They're not equal to the number of likes that they have. Think about this in your own relationship as parents and going through high school, college. The quality of the friend is much more important than the quantity. You are much better off having those 10 good friends than 100 that don't care. We need to share that with our children because you are greater than the number of likes. So we need to nurture kindness by being supportive. Be prepared and show them what kindness looks like. We can also prepare ourselves by asking ourselves, what do we do if our child was ever bullied online? And what would we do if we found our child was being unkind to somebody else online, being the bully? Things will happen. Some children will share too much. Some children may share way too much with that camera. Statistically, it will happen. To you, not necessarily, but to somebody in this group, probably, just based on statistics. So be supportive, and you may have to take some time and be non-judgmental to help your child if anything ever happens. So being savvy means developing good habits. What do we mean by good habits? Well, these days it's very hard to tell what you can and can't trust online. For example, somebody can take a photo and somebody else can say, oh, it's their photo, and it really isn't. Don't be that person. There can also be, we know the term, fake news. There can be videos on YouTube or social media that could be completely based as a hoax. Could also be based in fact. How do we know the difference? We have come up with this other slide. So let's take a moment and pause and ask a question before we act. When you see something sensational and you consider, okay, why was this made? Who made it? What's missing? Did they leave out facts? Did they leave out figures? And maybe trying to skew your opinion? How might different people interpret it? You know, is it a very slanted story? Is it sensationalized and probably not true? How do you know if this is true? Generally, if it's true, there's more than one report, but you'll find different information in each report. Who might benefit from the message that you just read, and who might be harmed by the message? Is it trying to trick us into action or a social action? Some of this can be found online. We have teamed with the National Association for Media Literacy Education, which is linked on our website. So you can get this guide to help you and your child determine what is real and what is fake on the internet. Because we know there are tons of things on the internet that are not real. And things that should be not real, maybe are. So we need to try and encourage good habits. Who am I online? Have you ever Googled yourself? I have Googled myself once I started doing this program. I'm sitting here in Texas. I got a beard, curly hair, glasses. I Googled myself. Well, Google said, I'm a vice president of a medical company located out in California. Now, I look nothing like this. I have a double ganger. There's another Ron Russak. Only one. Yeah, it's a unique last name. But they're not me. What if they get convicted of fraud? Is that going to look bad on me? Am I going to have to say, no, that's not me, that's them? That was the kind of, one of the takeoffs of that was in the movie Big Lebowski. You know, there were two Lebowskis. And which one were they talking about? So be aware that you can Google yourself. You can Google your children. See if there's any information out there or if there's a cyber twin, because the chances are it's out there. And in Google, you can set up alerts. There is a method, I don't have the details in front of me, but you can set up alerts. So like if any news article with the words Ron Russak appear, it sends me an email and tells me what it is. So I found out he got promoted, probably a big raise, probably makes more money than I do. So we were talking about good habits and doing things online. This is a very interesting slide. We have been tracking this since we started this program. There is a survey based from the Kaplan Institute They do it every year. We're probably due for a new one since we're now in February 2023. These numbers have changed over the years. They have gotten much larger. One of the questions we ask, or they have asked, college admissions departments, people, have you ever looked up an applicant online? Last year, it was 66% said yes, that they did look up applicants for college online to see what their online presence was. This is way up since 2014. Back then, it was like 38%. Whoop. What's also changed is 57% of those who did look up found something that hurt the students' admissions chances. They posted something years ago, maybe being negative, bad, hostile. The admission officers found them, said, you may not be material for our college. Conversely, 38% found something good. So, should our children be ghosts on the internet? Maybe, maybe not. But if they use the internet for something good, like showing off an achievement, they did win an award, they scored the winning touchdown in a football game. You know, did they share anything good about themselves online? Because you want to be in that green number by the time they get to college. Because remember, the internet has no delete button. Anything posted from 20 years ago could still be found possibly. So help your children develop good habits and post good things online. So we're trying to encourage good uses like learning a new skill, promoting a cause, raising funds, showcasing accomplishments, or ending contests. Trend Micro sponsors a contest every year for children or schools for aspiring artists about subjects on the internet. So, kind of to sum up, right on time for the hour. We want to be online with the environment, the rules, and the examples. We want to be safe with our information. We want to be kind to others and yourself. We want to be savvy by using good habits and good uses for the internet. We know there are tons of bad things on the internet. The point is, do something good. And all of this needs to be taken to keep them safe. And as we said before, there will be hiccups. That may be one of those times it's very difficult to do. That without emotion, both parents deal with the issue. Support your child. With the accidents will happen. Be that parent that they can come to you with a major problem and you won't have a fit first. Listen to it, address the issue. Then, after the child goes to sleep, go into your room and have your tantrum away from them. But be that parent that can support your children. This is what we're really stressing by doing all of these things and learning these steps. Other things you can do with your child. trendmicro.com/internet-safety. There are a number of modules and we're making more all the time. These are very quick animated videos. If you remember back in the day, Schoolhouse Rock on TV. I'm dating myself. Little short segments. These things are kind of more like a modern version of that. They're not singing jingles, but each one addresses a specific area. They're very short animated videos. They include a Kahoot quiz. Kahoot is one of those quizzing things on the internet. An activity sheet and conversation guide. And these are available in multiple language. You can do this with your children. You can print out the conversation guide or the activity sheet. Help reinforce what passwords are, two-factor authentication, camera safety. We're inventing new modules like this all the time. Very good resource. Another resource that you can find on the website. Again, here's some screenshots of our website. Lots of things to do there, and also resources for parents and teachers specifically, not just necessarily events for the kids. So what do we want to do? We want to keep it going. Stay active. Communicate. Keep up to date. Keep your software up to date. Most importantly, just do one thing. If you've learned anything tonight, please work with your children on just any one of these single steps, and you'll be making a step in the right direction to help keep your children safe online, to help them become good digital citizens, because that's what we're aiming for. Yes, the internet 5 to 10 years from now may be completely different, but those good habits will carry over into anything that happens in the future. So do take one point and do one new thing. Finally, we do have an internet, again, at trendmicro.com, internet safety, PTO today-feedback. I do not see these forms. If you have any comments, suggestions, or anything, please provide your feedback. One thing we will do is if you do provide your email address in this form, what may happen is you can win a 1-year free subscription for up to 5 devices of Trend Micro Maximum Security. I use that on my computers and my phones. It is free, and you have a chance to win it. Could easily save you $79.95 or $100. And again, it's for 5 licenses. So that's enough for, several phones, several tablets, or computers. If you include your email. If you don't include your email, that's fine. You're just not in the contest. So again, please fill out that email, that feedback form. It is included in the chat as well. You can click on it and open it up behind us. I thank you for attending. I actually got finished faster than I anticipated. So we can certainly stick around and have a few questions, answers, or explanations. We do have a Q&A in button in your Zoom that you can fill out, and I will see it, or you can even post it in the chat. If not, everybody have a wonderful evening and a great week, and do that one thing.